In the glittering yet precarious ecosystem of Hollywood, where dreams are scripted and fortunes fluctuate with box office tallies, a clarion call has rung out from an unlikely herald, Kleber Mendonça Filho, the acclaimed Brazilian auteur whose films blend social commentary with cinematic poetry. At the prestigious Marrakech International Film Festival, amid the buzz of global tastemakers, Filho didn't mince words. He declared the industry, not just in the US but worldwide, teetering on the brink of a full-blown crisis, one precipitated by the inexorable rise of streaming services. This isn't hyperbole, it's a diagnosis from a filmmaker who's witnessed the seismic shifts firsthand, from the pandemic's digital pivot to the algorithmic appetites that now dictate what we watch and when. Filho's plea is simple yet seismic. Hollywood must redraw the battle lines between theaters and screens, or risk extinguishing the communal magic that birthed the movies we cherish. To understand Filho's alarm, one must trace the fault lines back to March 2020, when COVID-19 slammed the gates shut on cinemas, forcing studios into uncharted waters. Blockbusters like Mulan and Wonder Woman 1984 bypassed traditional releases, debuting simultaneously on Disney Plus in hybrid models that blurred the sacred window between theatrical debut and home viewing. What started as a survival tactic morphed into a new normal, with Netflix, Amazon Prime and HBO Max aggressively courting audiences with day-and-date drops. The allure was undeniable. Convenience at a click, no lines, no overpriced popcorn, just endless content tailored to your tastes. But Filho, whose works like Aquarius and Bacurau thrive on the big screen immersion, sees a darker undercurrent. We're going through a crisis in terms of going to the cinema, but I think with streaming culture and also with the pandemic, the rules were changed, he articulated, his voice carrying the weight of a prophet in the desert. At its core, Filho's critique laments the erosion of the cinema-going ritual, a shared pilgrimage that transforms passive viewing into a collective experience. It had always been very clear that to see a film, you would see it in the cinema, he reflects, evoking an era when Friday nights meant dressing up, debating trailers and gasping in unison at plot twists. That clarity has evaporated, replaced by fragmented consumption on laptops and phones, where distractions abound and scale is sacrificed. Well, this is not so clear anymore, he notes, pinpointing how streaming's immediacy siphons viewers away from theaters. The numbers bear him out. Post-pandemic US box office revenues hover at 60% of pre-2020 levels, while streaming subscriptions swell to over 1.1 billion globally. Yet, Filho argues this victory for accessibility comes at the expense of artistry. Films designed for the grandeur of 70mm, sweeping epics or intimate dramas that demand spatial depth, lose their soul when shrunk to a tablet. The pandemic, Filho acknowledges, was the accelerant, but streaming was the tinder already stacked high. Platforms like Netflix, with their voracious content pipelines, prioritize volume over venue, flooding markets with originals that premiere directly to subscribers. This model, while democratizing access for underserved audiences, starves theaters of oxygen. Independent cinemas, already on life support, face closure waves. Chains like AMC teeter on debt mountains. Filho's solution? A firm, industry-wide line in the sand. Mandate a 3 to 4 month exclusive theatrical window before streaming availability. The industry, particularly in Hollywood, really has to draw a line if they want to keep film going alive, he urges, framing it as a lifeline rather than a luxury. Filho practices what he preaches with his latest opus, The Secret Agent, an adaptation of Joseph Conrad's novel that probes espionage and existential dread. In Brazil, where Filho wields considerable influence, the film enjoyed a deliberate rollout. Cinemas first, with streaming deferred for months. Now that The Secret Agent is in cinemas in Brazil, we made it crystal clear that this film will be in cinemas only for months, and then only later it will be streaming at some point, he explains. The strategy paid dividends. Ticket sales surged as audiences, primed by the exclusivity, flocked to screens. If you send that message, if you make it clear, people will come, and this is what's happening in Brazil now, Filho beams, offering a blueprint for Hollywood's titans. Yet, Filho's vision isn't without challenges. Studios, beholden to shareholder pressures, view theatrical windows as archaic relics in a data-driven age. Warner Bros.' 2021 HBO Max hybrid strategy, for instance, boosted short-term subs but alienated exhibitors, sparking lawsuits and boycotts. Disney's pivot back to 45-day windows post-Black Widow backlash shows tentative progress, but enforcement remains spotty. Filho counters that the economic calculus favors theaters. Premium large formats, PLFs, like IMAX generate disproportionate revenue with Top Gun. Maverick proving that patient releases can eclipse $1 billion globally. Moreover, the cultural ripple effects, water cooler buzz awards traction, stem from communal viewings, not solitary scrolls. Beyond economics, Filho's manifesto touches on aesthetics. Streaming's bite-sized ethos favors spectacle over subtlety, birthing an era of content over cinema. Directors like Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve have echoed Filho, decrying the tyranny of the algorithm that buries bold visions. Filho, with his roots in Brazil's vibrant festival circuit, champions diversity. Streaming globalizes reach but homogenizes tastes, sidelining non-English narratives unless they fit Netflix's mold. His call to arms is thus multifaceted, a bid to preserve not just seats in theaters but the soul of storytelling. As Hollywood grapples with strikes, AI encroachments, and audience fragmentation, Filho's words at Marrakech resonate like a wake-up call. He's not anti-streaming. He recognizes its role in broadening horizons. But without guardrails, he warns, we'll trade the silver screen's allure for a silver algorithm's efficiency. I think this is taking many people away from the cinema.